technical difficulties, and we're back with Tim Fazenbaker. As we were saying, he's been fighting for a long time, since 2022. Ran in both primary elections and lost to Nolan Harris in one time, and I forget who the other man was, but that Tim would know. And so he is running for Baltimore County Council in Dundalk area. Um, Tim is from Dundalk, and he's fighting for the community and the people and the blue collar workers and the safety there. Um, I met Tim, like I said, I met Tim a few months ago at a school board meeting. I'm a candidate for my Southwestern school district there, and he was presenting his presentation for his modulars and his business, um, along with another competitor as well. And Tim is now running for Baltimore County Council, and we are going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about his background and what the county is like and the demographics politically, and if he's got any challengers, and his agenda for Baltimore County Council. So, how about you give us a background for you, Tim?
Thanks for having me, and sorry we had the difficulties. I'm sitting in my vehicle now, somewhere we might have been the internet, but either way, I got involved in politics around 2020. I'm in a conservative area, the last remaining conservative area around Baltimore County. I mean, around Baltimore City. I'm actually in the county. I'm actually where the Key Bridge went down last year. Um, this is a very family-oriented area, very conservative, and family names go back to 1600s in this area because this has been a great area. We're right on the water. We're adjacent to the Atlantic Ocean. We used to have Bethlehem Steel at the time was the largest steel manufacturer in the world. We were a powerhouse, and due to abuse and neglect and ineptness, we lost a lot of that. So growing up, I saw the transition of our community, and I voted Republican always. But the Republicans I were voting for were doing very liberal things. Started going to meetings. I got laughed at, and I'm like, no, I'm asking a real question. I was an executive VP in mental health, and I was concerned about a lot of things going on. So it prompted me to run, and I got invited to speak in DC. And next thing I know, I was running for Congress. And I knew at the time I was running against Dutch Ruppersberger. At that time, I was about 41, and he had been in office for about 42 years, so longer than I was alive. And I knew to beat a machine or anything like something that established, I needed to bring in outside resources. So I began touring the country, went to Boston, and I met Brennan Strock from Walkaway Movement, started to work with Scott Pressler, who's famous in Pennsylvania as well for helping get out the vote in a sense. And I started going on to a lot of the national news networks, and I started working with someone from Trump's campaign who joined my team. And really, we built a grassroots foundation here, expressing a lot of the same values that President Trump at the time were talking about. The America First movement, at the time, I was always saying American kids first. And what that really means was really we take care of our own. It doesn't mean anything else except we take care of our own. And it starts in your own house, and then your community, your city and block, and then your state and your country. So I lost in that race. And then in 2022, I ran for delegate in the state. The difference here in Maryland, at this where I live, is we have 3 delegates, and I finished as the first runner up against 3 incumbents there, and it wasn't far off. And it wasn't the Nolan person you're talking about, probably a different race. I don't recognize that name, but nonetheless, my message resonated, and people said a lot. They wanted me to keep moving further into this because I try to represent the community and the people. I don't care about myself or my own beliefs, except that I have this belief: you have the God-given right to do whatever you want with your life, provided you not take away that right from another. Most people, I say 95%, will agree with that, left or right. And then the discussion gets, how do you obtain that in a sense? But at least because I've stuck to those values, it's given me a strong name, a strong presence in this area. A lot of people asked me to run for Congress or even governor of Maryland, and at this time, I don't think that's the right thing. So I am running for state delegate. I mean, I'm sorry, county council this time. It's a new position because they're expanding from 7 to 9 districts. I do have one person who's mentioned that he's running. He's very anti-Trump. He's not a MAGA, America First type person. He's more of a former Governor Hogan type person. He actually came out and said he supports Pete Buttigieg, which is unbelievable. But I'm not focusing necessarily too much on any other competition because I welcome it. But the thing is, I know my message is what the community wants and what the community needs, and my vision for it, which we'll I'm sure talk about soon, really reflected, and it comes into play a lot with Pennsylvania. And I'll lastly say before I turn it back to you is I did live in Pennsylvania for a few years, and I own property in Pennsylvania, so I understand a lot of the Pennsylvania politics, the Pennsylvania way of life, similar to Maryland but different. And a lot of Central PA residents actually fled Maryland and went to Pennsylvania because of the socialist communist policies that have been in place in Maryland. So I keep a very close eye with what happens in Pennsylvania, and that's kind of what is shaping my vision for what I want to do in my district down in Dundalk and Edgemere, Maryland.
I was gonna say, so what does America First agenda for community safety look like?
So Dundalk has been an area that historically was always taking care of our disabled and our elderly. And that made Dundalk a very close community. We didn't care about anything else except if you needed help, we took care of you. We took care of our own. The issue ended up becoming when liberals really took control of this area, they ended up settling a lawsuit for discriminatory practices because our area we were taking care of elderly and disabled with our subsidies, and it wasn't race based. So they settled with HUD to turn over money to Baltimore City. Baltimore City ended up taking that $30 million, purchasing property in this area along with other things. And there have been, in a sense, quotas on building developments and everything in our community, which is the antithesis really of America First, because really America First has always meant you take care of your family first, your block, your neighborhood, your community, then your city and state and your country. And if you can't take care of your neighbor and you're going to be trying to take care of somebody else that's not from your area, that's just completely wrong. A house that's not with a good foundation will fall. And that's why a community that's been as close as this has been so successful over decades and centuries is because we took care of our own and we had no problem helping anyone in need. But when you force us to do things and give our resources to others, that's when our foundation begins to fall. So that's what it means. We're also going to be following the American First belief that if you're not here legally, then you need to leave and try to come back the right way. Our resources should be going to our people, our veterans, our elderly, our disabled, our children before anybody else. And that's what America First means here.
So what do you plan to do about the Maryland to Virginia power lines that are unconstitutional and as eminent domain?
So this gets into my platform. Maryland has this green belief that that power plants and energy is just wrong unless it's solar or whatever they consider green. What's going on right now with Maryland is they've been shutting down power plants. They've been shutting down any kind of power energy um, that happens in this state. And they're closing their eyes and saying, well, look, we're not doing the energy, so now we're clean. But we have to get our power from Pennsylvania and we have to get our power from New York. And someone who's also worked in this field, I know exactly how this works. If I'm a company in Pennsylvania and I'm going, okay, well, we have a lot of power demands already. The power that you require, we will do, but it's going to cost more money. It's going to be, it's more in demand. So you're here, Maryland, you're getting the same power you would have had if you would have made it, but we're going to charge you at a premium. Down here in Maryland, the prices of our energy have doubled, tripled, and people are going from $300 electric or energy bills in a sense to $1,200 a month, and that's not even a stretch. So our focus has to be in getting our power from here, the whole America first thing, making sure we're dependent on our own in power in a sense. Now, what's going on in Pennsylvania in Western PA, you have the development of these AI infrastructure, warehouses and buildings going up, where the power demands are going to be even greater for Pennsylvania, and going on in Texas as well. So that's great for Pennsylvania, and you're getting federal help and infrastructure for this. But the demand means more power in Pennsylvania, which means Maryland, hey, if you want any of this, you're going to have to pay even more. So it's going to be even worse for Maryland. So I have been focused on bringing back our energy production right here in Maryland so we can supply our own demands. And also, because of where we are, we have amazing real estate and amazing people in our district, that those types of plants also should be in Dundalk and Edgemere, Maryland, because we're right on the water. We have great people. We have the resources to do this, but we need to free up our energy production and let America thrive, and let the 22nd century thrive in our district as well. And that's something that I've been fighting for and will continue, and is my main platform for this campaign.
Dundalk is a blue collar working county in Maryland with steel mills like Bethlehem Steel. Do you plan to see that these union blue collars are getting paid what they should be getting paid?
So unions have been evolving for the past 100 years. Obviously, they had a great purpose in the very beginning, and then with anything, once their people get in power, there becomes the corruption, and we saw that. And unfortunately, with Bethlehem Steel, many people lost their pensions and their retirement because people actually ended up stealing that money and fleeing the country. And it's sad to see. These are great people that kept us alive with World War II, with what they were doing. But I do speak, and a lot of my second platform actually happens to be about trade schools and working with unions and getting these young children now on a path, so they're not necessarily having to go to college to get a degree in nothing. College is still great. I went, obviously, but there are paths for people. But a lot of these people don't go to college and actually get something great out of this. So blue collar trades, they make more money than many people that go to college. So I'm working with unions right now currently to try to say, let's develop a pipeline from school to worker. And a lot of times they're in 8th grade right now, and these are the types of kids that we need to say, hey, are you interested in these things, or you have an ability for these things? Let's look at these things. Maybe this is something that you can do. And then they get into those fields, they make great money, and then we want to make sure that are able to continue. The part about having the AI infrastructure come here and other jobs that I want to bring, like tech jobs here, even some federal sector jobs, is that you will need more trades to keep these things afloat. So we don't have the people right now to even do these types of jobs. So this is the second part that has to happen. We have to have a strong workforce, a blue collar trades people down here to keep this going. And then you have a perfect mix of an economy where you have people working in these AI infrastructure tech jobs. You have the blue collar workers making great incomes as well. And you have a perfect mix of what it means to really be America.
So, so have you ever thought about a recruiting sector for these graduate students for companies like Bethlehem Steel, like apprenticeship program, to assure that young men and women can go directly to from school?
Yes. So Bethlehem Steel is no longer around in Maryland. I believe your steel mills are opening back up in Pennsylvania, and it's not possible where we are now because there's a logistics company now on that old site. But yes, there needs to be a focus or a school in a sense, or a some kind of way as an internship to get these young people into that path. And that comes with working with unions and their recruiters as well, to identify students and entice students as well to say, these are the paths, here are some scholarships and grant opportunities, so that we can make sure that we have those people in the future in those positions.
Um, what do you plan to do for school education in Baltimore County?
So in this role, I don't directly handle the education. However, for years I've been dealing with the education issues that we have in Baltimore County. Um, where I live is we have Sparrows Point High School and Middle School. It's one of the oldest school buildings around. It's actually one building together, which is not common in Maryland. Probably not common in Pennsylvania either. But it's a we're on a peninsula. It's a historic area. Development is hard to come by because of protected waterlands and some historical lands. But the agenda has to be we have to get people into these school board positions that also fight for education, not indoctrination. And I currently work with Rod McMillian, who is our school board representative in our district, former gym teacher, retired from teaching, and he's doing this. He's independent, and which is a great way to be. Although being a Republican, I support Republicans, but at the same time, if you have the message that's right, that's what matters the most, not a political party. And we got to make sure we hold people like your school board people accountable to say, this is what we want. We don't want this woke agenda coming in there, CRT, any of these types of things. We want our kids really focused on reading, writing, history, and our civics. And then after grade school, in a sense, they go into these avenues of where they think they might be best moving forward. Could be the trades, could be a doctor, could be something else. But those focuses have to come from the parents and the communities to the school board representatives, and then on to basically our county executive, who oversees pretty much all of the school stuff, which is pretty much half of our budget in this county, which is a lot of money.
Wow. Um, what was I say? Is Baltimore County, Dundalk, Red County, and populist?
Not Baltimore County. Baltimore County is blue. It's never really voted for an executive that was a Republican, except one time about 35 years ago. And that was a Democrat that switched to be a Republican at that time. So it's always been a Democrat county. Part of that has been these were old school Democrats at the steel plant and the union mills of the 60s and 70s and 50s. And most of them stayed Democrat. However, in an area like Dundalk, even where I believe the Democrats might even outnumber the Republicans, this is not a liberal or Democrat area. These are people that have been registered Democrat and still vote very conservatively, much like what was going on in West Virginia. So this is a very red district where I am, a very America First, pro-Trump for the most part area. But ultimately, we are the outlier in most of Baltimore County because most of Baltimore County has become the city, and the city and its leftist policies have really expanded and destroyed most of this county. As an example, when I was a child, I do remember the first time I heard about murder statistics in Baltimore County. It was 4 murders in 1 year, which was a lot, and usually we had 0 or 1. A few years ago, we were at 54, and I have no idea what the number is now, but it's not going in the right direction. So many people have fled, like I said, and they left and went to Pennsylvania or South Carolina or Florida. And there are many great people still here that want to fight and save this and uh, rejuvenate this area. And so I'm in a very red area still, and hopefully we can keep it that way and move it into the next century with more America First policies.
Um, I was going to say, do you? I mean, it being a blue county, do you find that you have any struggle within the county council?
So there'll be 9 positions, and I more than likely will be in the minority party. It could be 6-3 or 5-4, realistically, with me being in the minority, and that's okay because I have been working with other candidates that, in a sense, still believe in that philosophy I talked about, where you have the God-given right to do what you want with your life, just provided you don't take away that right from another. We have different beliefs on how we get there. Um, and I don't play into the scratch my back, I scratch yours thing. I don't compromise on principles, but I am willing to work to get our ultimate goals together. See, much of my life, I've always said Democrat Party was fine with inching forward towards their ultimate goal. So if it meant you couldn't get a 2% tax raise and they got a 1%, they were okay with it because they knew eventually they'd get that 2%. We needed to always have a goal. And I feel as if we are starting to have a goal of what it means to be American in the next century. And that is slowly going to give us a plan to say, okay, we're going to reduce taxes by, we want all the way, but, we'll take 1% or whatever it's going to be. So working with these other people in these other positions will be difficult, but deals can be made without compromising principles on getting things for our community and the betterment of the county. My main focus will be my own district before the county, but I have other people running in different races, including the county executive and in governor, which if we get them across the border, across the line, then we have a better shot at getting our goals achieved faster, which is ultimately what we want. But we have to work within the plan that we have. And we have to ask for help from the federal government with President Trump's administration to not just write off Maryland, because it has been a cesspool like California, where they've done everything they can to stop the administration. But if we just look at Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro is a Democrat, but it hasn't been as bad as, say, something like Maryland, where they actively attack the president. So Pennsylvania is able to get those resources, and Maryland hasn't been. So that's something that we need to work with. And we need a person to stand up in Maryland and Baltimore County to say, hey, President Trump, I will work with your administration to help bring things here to help extend your belief into America First and to compromise with my belief of America First right here. But we can't do that if we are extremely attacking him the whole time. That is not who I am. I will work with anybody if they are helping us without compromising my principles.
So your challenger, or the rhino that you said that was supported Buttigieg, is that the John JD guy that
That is
you?
correct. Yeah, he's
Okay.
he was appointed by Governor Hogan in the past, and I don't really. He's not expressing many of his views, but he's backed by establishment. He's already close with many of the people that are in power in this area, which have destroyed many of what I talked about, the great things about our district. So I've asked him to speak up, and I've challenged him to a debate already to discuss what is your vision for this area, because is it more go along, get along? Because if you support Pete Buttigieg and you don't support Trump in an area like this, do you really represent the people? Where have you been also? Nobody knows who he is. And all of a sudden he's going to have the backing of the party, a party that I'm already elected to, that sees myself like President Trump was, or, basically where they're like, we don't like it because he's rocking in the boat and he will challenge his own party. That's who I am. This other person, I don't believe, has the best interest of our community. And if he were to be in power and he's supporting Pete Buttigieg and Governor Hogan, former Governor Hogan, over President Trump and the America First values, we're going to be in a very, very bad situation, where we will end up completely losing our district, where it will become a blue district shortly afterwards.
Right. I was gonna say. I'm trying to think. So, what can the people do to help you with your election and your race?
So for years, when I've been involved, I used to tell people all the time, look, money helps, but my main thing is share my message. My social media, my following is very strong. I have many people that have shared the message. Of course, that's the number one thing. What I see coming in the situation here is the establishment will use money to put out attack mailers against me or misrepresent a competitor's beliefs or anything along those lines. Money is a concern in this one. So I funded many of the campaigns that I've had on my own, and same thing here. I can do it to a point, but I'm asking people for help any way they can, whether it's volunteer, whether it's spreading my message by sharing posts, sharing any of my media information, or any of my podcast or TV shows. But I'm also asking for financial support from those who can. And you can go to timfazenbaker.com to find all the information about me. You'll see all the videos of being on Newsmax, One American News, been on Fox News, and you will find my message has always stayed the same, and it's always been about the people. And you can donate there. You can message me as well to say, "Hey, I'd like to help." And look, we love people coming out to our parades and things like that. We do. It shows solidarity within the community. And we had a parade the other night, and other people weren't from this area came here and were watching, and they said, "Wow, you really do have the entire community behind you." And it doesn't matter what some of my political beliefs are, because many of the people will say, "I disagree with you on a lot of these things, but I know that you put our community first and you put our kids first." And that ultimately is what it means. So those are ways you can help. And I appreciate it as very, very much. And I promise I won't let you down. I make promises and I keep those promises, like you're seeing a lot with President Trump. There are some that I wish would come out more, but that's a whole nother discussion. Um, Please just check out timfazenbaker.com and you will find out who I am. And this is the next generation of the MAGA movement.
So I'm going to play the your Facebook platform video for the people here so they can hear you talk about your platform, and then we'll
Sure.
get back to you.
Thanks.
So presentation. So if I can get it up. And
Hello, everybody. I'm Tim Fazenbaker. I'm currently your elected Republican representative to the Central Committee for our district. You have honored me for the past few years of serving you, and I always have served with your interest at heart, not mine, not the will of the party, and not the will of any government official. Our community has always been close. Our community helped instill the values that I have because we have been a strong, close community for hundreds of years. As you know, I have announced that I am running for Baltimore County Council. In my vision for this area is going to be something that's going to take us to the next century, and it's going to revolutionize our district. Many of these ideas that I'm about to discuss came from you in my conversations with you, and it came from knowing the people, and it came from also working with President Trump's administration. Number one, I've been seeing Western Pennsylvania and Texas getting infrastructure and funding for these major artificial intelligence plants. Well, why don't we have that? We have something, don't we? Have two main things: prime real estate, because we have the waterfront right here on the Chesapeake Bay, adjacent to the Atlantic Ocean, right in the center of the ocean. We have real estate. Businesses and organizations should be thriving here and wanting to come here, because not only do we have the location with waterfront, we have you, our people. Our people are great. Yeah, we have blue collar people, we have affluent people, we have people struggling. That's what has always made our community tight and close. We work together. This is an area where hundreds of years of family names have been thriving because we stick together. The America First vision was always about taking care of your own, taking care of your block, your family, your community, your city, your state. And that's what America First really is. It's taking care of our own community first. That's what we will continue to do. Also, federal jobs like the Housing and Urban Development Building that is trying to be relocated are very high paying careers in the federal sector that should be somewhere like here. Why does Woodlawn have the Social Security building with great careers there, but Dundalk, Edgemere has never had that type of person to help bring in those types of jobs that will work with the administrations to get those jobs here? Our people are great. We deserve those positions. Secondly, trade schools. Many of our students growing up right now are the next generation of your electricians, your plumbers, your HVAC. They need to have an avenue to learn these trades and make high paying careers in the blue collar sector in these trades. A lot of these people make great money, and a lot of these people will be servicing the artificial intelligence factories that will be coming here. We'll be servicing those tech sectors, and then in the federal business that we'll be bringing here. So we need to have an avenue for those individuals as well. I will be working with different unions to help create a path for many students who are interested in these things and are inclined to it to have ways to get to that. Lastly, safety. Our community has always been close, always been safe. There were never murders or anything when I was a child or even before, occasionally maybe, but many politicians and inept leaders have basically let political whatever come into our communities and push the city policies in here and broken up many of our communities. And it has caused issues with many of our lives in these communities. I will work with the federal administration. I will work with ICE to make sure that we are following the rule of law. I've worked with organizations like We Back Blue to support our law enforcement families and to make sure that we are safe because they work for us. And ultimately, the number one thing that matters is you. It doesn't matter about anybody else. You come first. We take care of our own, and then if we have the ability, we take care of others. So I will continue to fight for those. And I welcome competition. I've heard other people wish to join the race, and I welcome that. And I hope that we can have open conversations and even debates on, what your positions may be. But I know from the community that what you believe is what I'm also pushing to make sure our community gets.
I like that guy.
That was pretty good.
Thanks.
I like him too, man. So has Ice been down there?
Yes. So Thomas Homan and I met at our first We Back Blue event in 2019 or 2020. I'm forgetting which year exactly, but I posted some pictures before. He was our guest speaker, and I work with people who are in the White House, and we have contacted ICE many times to let them know about hot spots and issues. One of the first spots was a Home Depot where they arrested 5 bad guys just outside of Dundalk, same zip code, but it was in the city. And I was ecstatic because Thomas Homan's been doing a great job. Their resources are limited. There's so many spots to go to. So many people have came and said, please help me with this, this, and this. We've reported all of them. We've seen some areas being handled now, which is great. And we have plenty more to go. But yes, ICE has been down here. And there are Hispanics and other people that are. I met some Russians last night in the area that are legal. And look, we love anybody who wants to be in America. Do it the right way, though. Don't take resources from us, and don't come here if you have criminal backgrounds and things like that, and you don't want to assimilate. So we are all at one time from a different place, but come here the right way, join the community, and we will embrace you. But we do not want what Joe Biden and many other politicians have purposely led into our country with the crime, the illegal status, avoiding paperwork and things like that. We want the best and the brightest to come here.
And not to mention the earlier events concerning what was her name? The
Morin.
woman in Harford County.
Yeah,
Yes.
Rachel Morin. So Rachel Morin, if you're not familiar, I know you are, but was a beautiful lady in Harford County, a mom, daughter. She was raped and killed by an illegal with a history, and President Trump had publicly discussed this as well, because it was a high profile case, and it was extremely sad. And that's an area in Harford County, Maryland, where most of that county is considered fairly safe and conservative. Bob Castley, the county executive up there, has been doing a great job, but you still have this that happens everywhere. You had Tammy Nobles also in this area, who was murdered, same thing, raped and murdered. And I've spoken with her mother. They've been to the White House, and they've had to live the rest of their lives knowing that people came here that shouldn't have been here, when maybe if these politicians didn't do those things, their loved ones would still be here. And that's what I say. We take care of our own first. Because I ask you, if you're listening, if you're a father or a mother or whatever, you have a kid, you would always put your kid before your own life, and you would put your kid before somebody else that you don't know. And that's the human nature, where you protect, your family, and that's what you should do, and then be able to help others as well. But our politicians made something out of creating these policies that have harmed us. So they basically were traitors to us. And we need to correct that. President Trump is. I will continue to work with that. And you know what? If a county executive or a governor in my state says, oh, no, 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 we're going to do this and this and this, I'm not that person that will comply. I am the person that will follow the rule of law. And I will make sure that I circumvent Governor Westmore, whomever it may be, if they try to say, no, we're not going to do what the administration does, because I don't care what their beliefs and rules are. I care about what my people want, and that's keep us safe first and foremost. And I will do the right thing, not follow some other person's belief and political maneuvering.
That is, I mean, that's exactly what needs to happen. Is a community that's going to have to take care of itself in order for everybody to survive with all these illegals coming in. Hopefully, Trump took care of them, but still, Baltimore has always been the city of crime ever since probably the establishment, and it's just, it's just the way it's been. Um, for
There's,
many years.
there's,
It's like
there's one thing.
number 1 or 2 on the top dangerous cities.
Yeah.
So
And when I was a child, I'm a little older than you, but we had Mayor William Donald Schaefer. He was the last of the Democrats that I would say that ran that city in a decent way. He became governor of Maryland shortly afterwards, but he would talk about stuff when I was a child, talking about why Baltimore was great at that time. It was because of communities. And he talked about we had Greektown and Little Italy and Little Germany, and we had these areas going down from Baltimore County into the center of the city, and these communities policed themselves. And he always said, if you do not have those types of communities, you will not have a city. And those communities have fallen since he has left, since the late 80s, in a sense. And you've had this super leftist wing take over things. And the city has been a laughing stock. And it sucks because, look, I love Baltimore. I'm from here originally. I'm an Orioles fan. And going down into the city, it's dangerous. People get killed for nothing. And that's just not the American way. That's not a human way, and we want what's best. And what has been going on in the city for decades now is just atrocious. So, yeah, there are Democrats and that belief that still that have the right mindset, which is this is what we need to do to make people's lives better. But then you have this leftist movement of these super far crazy leftist Democrats that only care about their political benefit, and they don't care about the lives of other people. And we saw, like, I think it was in Cincinnati where the two people were beaten savagely the other night. And those are the types of things when people see that, it hurts. It makes me sick to your stomach, because nobody should be treated like that. And I don't know the story behind that, but when you go into a city, and their cities are usually run by liberals, this is the kind of stuff that happens. This is not America. This is third world nation type stuff, banana republic stuff. And that's what we need to restore in Baltimore and other cities. And that's what I plan on doing outside of Baltimore, is making it a safe, great place to work, live, and even visit here in Dundalk and Edgemere, Maryland.
yeah, I totally agree. The crime and everything is probably preventing a lot of people from visiting the inner city and Baltimore counties. I know PG County is really big as well on crime, and it's just sad that. But I'm glad that the ICE and hopefully the police. The police did a marvelous job with the whole when they came into Baltimore for Freddie, and they were being attacked and everything and rioting and during the summer of love. So I'm glad that they did that. I always thank them whenever I see a police officer or a military person. So because they really do have a rough life, a rough job, 24/7 protecting us.
some of the people that live in my community at that time were Baltimore City officers, and they had to deal with those Freddie Gray riots, and I felt for them and their families as well. But I will say one of the sweetest moments I had recently was at one of the parades we did just a few days ago. Uh, I went up to every officer that was there, thanked them, gave them. I give out rubber ducks all the time because I'm a cheap guy, and I gave them some information, and they pretty much all knew who I was, except one guy who was a cadet, so he's new, and that meant to me they know that I stand for them because they have stood for us. And that's what I've always said. Stand for those that stand for you. And that means your community, your police, your firefighters, your doctors, your retired people, whatever it is. Just help your own people. And then when you have more, you can help others. But um, I thank the police for what they do. And sometimes they get a bad rap for certain things, and look, they're bad people and everything. But generally, uh, the police are out there every day putting their lives on the line, and we appreciate that.
Um, so to wrap things up, where can the people contact you? Where can they find you?
Yep. TimFazenbaker.com. It's TimFazenbaker.com is the website. You can find me on Facebook, Tim Fazenbaker. You just do a quick Google search, you'll see everything. Mostly good stuff on the internet about me. You can find me I'm on TikTok, X, America One Tim Faze. You can find me on Instagram, all those sites. And my phone number and email are always there. You can reach me at any time. If I don't get back to you within a day, I'll be back in touch for sure. Communication is the key thing. Constituent services, helping people in need, is what it really means to be a public servant and not be a politician.
Well, thank you for your time, Tim, and coming on. Sorry we had some technical difficulty, but we got ahead of the game. And but thank you so much for coming on and for your service and the elected office coming up. And we wish you luck.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the Lions Den.
Yep. Yep. You're welcome. Take care.